All right, we're going to just make a quick start at working with images in HTML pages with a very simple example, again, to get you started. There's so many things you can do with images, and you'd like them to be adaptive to different situations, different monitors, phones, browsers. So there's tons more you can do, how you float text around, how they appear in the line. So this is really just the very start of getting with it. But I have you an assignment here where you're going to add to your bio something like interesting images, center it if you want. I thought this kind of looked better left justified, under that. I didn't really specify, but I did say have, and I think you have to do 5 images. I just did 2. And the idea is the images are there, a little bit of white space between them. But when the user clicks on an image in a new tab, okay, the user gets to see the full image, and it happens here. Here's another girl with a hat image, right? So that's kind of the look and feel we're looking for. Nothing too dramatic. And if you've done some web pages, this, I can find 1,000 other ways to do this, or lean on a tool or a template or a web place that lets you, post pictures, kind of like Facebook. You can, do a lot there without having to do the details. But we're about learning, what does Facebook do behind the scenes with the HTML. I'm on my own computer. I'm going to go up to the remote desktop now to see how I did this. One thing I do, personally is when I'm ready, especially when I'm doing the final checkout, I like to check my web pages on, kind of off the device that I'm using them. If I've posted it, then here I am. If I can get to it from my own home, computer here, then it's right out there on the World Wide Web. So I recommend that you do something like that as a checkout. All right, but now I'm going upstairs, if you will, into the remote desktop where I'm logged in with my student ID and working on the About Me in code. And again, you develop them another way. That's fine. It's just that we want the results to get into your folder that is your website. Okay. Now, one thing the instructions say, and always name them exact when we're doing it by instructions, is to make a folder called images and put any images that you have, where you have the actual picture, into this folder called images, and we can refer to them there. That's common practice when you have just lots of images rather than kind of cluttering the root of the drive. You'll also have synopses. I don't have that here. I'm doing something different, but you need to make a folder images and put the images, I think, two that you find there in that folder. And rather than have you watch me type the HTML exactly, but maybe I'll do one. I just like to talk about how we got this particular thing. There's my header. I'm doing all this within body. A lot of times somebody might make a section or a div. We'll talk about, maybe semantic or breaking your web page into sections or divisions and that kind of thing. Here it's all just here as part of the body tag. But we have 2 things going on. On the inside, we're using the image tag. You should have read about it or looked at it, or maybe this is your first association. And the image tag takes, several attributes, but the important one is a source attribute. So it's src equal. And inside the quotes, you have the image you would like to have shown, okay? And in this case, it's something that's on my computer, so I really just have a path to it. So remember, the About Me document is in the root here, and then it says go to images, and then you will find Benedict and Clyde JPG, a couple of our cats. You should always include, and I think if you don't, you might get a warning on validation, some alternate, in case either the image doesn't show or maybe somebody isn't it can't, is visually impaired. So for accessibility, at least then it can read. That's a pic of two cats, so they don't get to see the picture, but they can realize that maybe it's not germane. It isn't a picture of the instructions. And in this case, I've used, and here's a little trick of the trade for doing quick and dirty thumbnails. Since we're going to have them side by side, if you make the height of all your thumbnails the same, it'll look reasonably good. This picture is wider than this. If we made them the same height and width each to make them match, that way it's going to skew the image a little bit. We can look at maybe some of what that looks like toward the end of the thing. So I usually just make them, if they're side by side, the same height, just so the image doesn't get skewed. If I kind of tried to push this the same height but make it less wide, it would be this little thumbnail wouldn't look so good. But if you go that way, that's not the biggest problem. Getting it in there is it. So that, and then so I've done a style, height, and 150 px for pixels. One thing to notice about the image tag, it doesn't have an opening and a closing. Since there's nothing that can really go in an image tag, here I'm doing it a little wrong. There, I'm using a little image closing tag. That's not right. Okay, and when we validate, it'll find out it presents okay. The browser doesn't say, "Oh, I can't present this because you're not up to standard," but you don't have a closing tag for or the closing of the tag for an image, and that's because there's really nothing you can put in here that makes any sense in the case of an image. It's all driven by what the attributes are. Okay, so but that's how you do if you have the image in somewhere that's within your web assets, part of your site. And what I did was on the A tag, remember that's a link, I made the href where I want to go when they click this thing. So this image is now in between the starting of the element and the end of the element for the link tag. So it's going to show the image, but the href says, well, where do you go when they click it? And something a little new for this one with target equal underscore blank, that'll open up in a new tab. Okay. And that's kind of the behavior we want. We don't want them to lose context. They could always hit the back button. It's a way to learn about the opening in a new tag or in a new tab too. You might argue, well, that's not the best way. Somebody says never open in a new window. If the user wants to open a new window, they could right-click and say open in a new window or a new tab. And I suppose that's true, but we're learning it, and they don't lose the context. They can close that thing too. A lot of arguments about purists or ways to do it out there, and so that's really essentially how it goes. So it's an image tag and it's embedded in an A tag. They both happen to be the same destination, which is part of our process here. When the image is something out on the World Wide Web, you can use this as one. I just took one of the images they had in W3 Schools of a girl where they're explaining how the image tag works in the course. And I'll maybe show you how you can get these references in just a little bit. Here I did it a little different way. I think this is being deprecated, but another way to give height is to say height equal, then in quotes a number. Now you don't put px, it's understood that these are pixels. And in fact, if you put something in there, then it won't validate. And one thing I've done that's not standard, and we'll see, is I've included an ending tag. All right, so that is the, that gets us this, and we've already seen that it works and the links are all just fine. One thing I want to do here is going to go, this is the about me. I'm going to do the validation for it. And so now it's looking, and man, okay, it presented just fine, looked great. I tested it, and I'm getting all these errors. Well, there's just a few things going on. Right? And I know what they are, but it's doing it for you. So when I, it was on a Windows computer, And so when I referred to images, Benedict and Clyde JPG in the folder images, I used a backslash, okay? And a backslash is Windows, but it's not standard. To be standard HTML, we need to use a forward slash. So I kind of go back. I got, twice for the same thing, one in the href and one in the source. So you always use forward slashes when you're doing HTML, even if, kind of on the system in Windows you use backslashes. But both of these were about that. And then it did notice that, we have a stray end tag. Okay, it didn't say that, but the image, we don't need an end tag. It's telling us. So I'm just going to do that, Control S, and refresh it. So always remember to, I've refreshed it. The page doesn't change, but if I check again, I'm hoping, yay, no errors. If I try to set a height and a width, maybe I want to, we got a height of 100 pixels and a width, height of 150 and a width of 100. We can do that. I hadn't checked this, but I think what's going to happen on the page, see, that picture wasn't made to be stretched that way. It's nice the thumbnails are now the same size, and maybe you could, there's ways you can say, well, crop the middle of it, and then when they see the full thing, but a quick and dirty way is just make the heights the same if they're side by side, and then the widths will work out. A couple of ideas on how to get pictures. Look around on the web. If you find a picture you like, and who could you could use this one if you want, you can right click on it, and there's a couple of things you do. You can copy the image link, okay, and then go in and use that. Maybe I'll do instead of the girl, I'll do and use that. Okay, just paste that link in there, and of course in this particular application we need to paste it in a couple of places, and it's no longer girl in a jacket, it's right, like it's gonna matter, but that's one way to, that's if you're going to do I found it out on the World Wide Web and I want to refer to it. So kind of go find the image, and you can right click on it and you can get that. If you have, gosh, I didn't really think on this. Well, we can do it with this one. If I wanted to save this image, right, you could get this image and do save image as, I'm on my host computer. I'm not in the VM here, but I'm going to save it like that. And then you can go find it. Oh, interesting. I put it in documents, but it didn't pick up on that. So no biggie. Documents here, this thing. And I can always copy this from, say, my host computer, and I could have saved it directly onto the machine. Go up to my website, and then paste it in there. And in which case, I could make this a, that's how to get an image, say, from your computer. You just put it in the right place. I got to emphasize, I am working without a net here, in the sense I'm doing all these changes right in my public-facing website. And if for simple things, and if that's how you want to go, it's good. Probably a better habit, especially if you develop websites, is develop them, kind of in some other area, maybe in your documents on the VM, or some way that you have to do it on a if you do it on your own resources and then upload, and then go from there. But I'm doing without a net, but then I could use that other image. And did I save it? Just do one more And what this should do here is change. Yeah, that second one is now a picture of me. And on you go. All right, so I think that shows all that I needed to show for doing Images 101. So good luck finishing the assignment. And of course, reach out with issues and problems. Bye-bye.